we go. Okay. Test 1, 2. That works. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Scarlett Clauss. I will be presenting today. As you can probably tell, I'm not Mr. Ingo Wolf, who was originally the guy who would do this speech. He had a sudden death in his family, so he can't attend today. And I will be the substitute. I will be filling in. He's a physicist, so the original speech was way more physics related. But regarding it's quite late in the day, it's probably even better if we don't do that and leave these parts out. I'm going to be talking about osmium in the tangible asset investment market and osmium as a jewelry material. Okay. So I can't walk away from here because of the mic. Okay, good, got it. Okay, so we will be talking about osmium, the sunshine element, and the rarest and, in our eyes, most beautiful precious metal, and what there is interesting to learn about it. So osmium is the last precious metal to enter the market and an interesting diversification for everyone's portfolio. And in this presentation, I will cover 3 basic points. What is osmium? Why is osmium interesting, or why should it interest us? And also the Osmium-Institute Germany and the Osmium-Institutes worldwide. I myself am from the Osmium-Institute Germany. I'm the vice director. I've been working with them for 7 years. And I will jump right into our first topic. There we go. So this is osmium in its crystallized form. Crystallized osmium is different to the osmium that you guys might have already heard of. When we're talking about osmium, we're always talking about this crystallized version that you can see here. So it is important to know it's a metal. Yes, its atomic number is 76. However, this material is the crystallized version that is used as tangible asset and jewelry material, not the raw material, which we will look upon later. And there's a few very interesting facts about osmium. The first one probably is its density, because it is the densest element of all the materials on the periodic table. We have 22.61 grams per cubic centimeter. For the ones who don't really know what this means, don't worry. I make some examples. Lead, which is always used to make things heavier and more bulky, has 11.34 grams per cubic centimeter, so only half of it. And as most people also don't really know how heavy lead is, I am using an example that most of us have already held in their hands. This is a bowling ball, and a normal bowling ball has a density of 1.33 grams per cubic centimeter. Meaning, if we were to make a bowling ball out of osmium, it would not only weigh 122.5 kilograms, making it kind of hard to throw, but in its crystallized form, it would also be worth over 220 million euros. So we're talking expensive material, and we're talking a very high density, but also a very high value density. So what makes osmium interesting? Well, there's a few facts. It has a couple of chemical and physical superlatives that are just interesting for the raw material that I'll run over real quick. It has the highest compression modulus of any element, meaning you can put a lot of pressure on it without it breaking. This could be, for example, interesting for submarines. You could build a submarine that goes down the Mariana Trench, and it wouldn't break, but due to reasons that I'm coming later to, it can't be used there. It also has the highest abrasion resistance of any element. It has a superconductivity at 0 Kelvin temperatures, so you could lead power around the world without losing any. It shields extremely well against gamma radiation, which could make it interesting in space. So you can see there's a lot of potential applications for osmium in the industry. However, because of this last point, it isn't used there. It is the rarest naturally occurring stable element on Earth. Again, this means in basic English that it is non-radioactive and the rarest non-radioactive element there is, which makes it very hard to use in the industry because it is so rare. You just don't have enough of it. You could build half a submarine, half a rocket, whatever, but never more. And that's already the first very intriguing factor about osmium, its rarity. So I'm from Berlin, I'm from Germany, which is also why obviously I can't talk in Serbian. I just know Zdravo, that's everything I know, so I'm going to stick to English for now. So I'm from Berlin, so I use the Brandenburger Tor from Berlin as a size measurement. We're seeing here on this side the cube of gold, that has already been mined until this day, having an edge length of approximately 24 meters. The osmium cube that you can see down here has an edge length of 2.1 meters, and that is not even mined. This is all the osmium that is in planet Earth. Mineable from that would be 1 cubic meter, and we're nowhere close to that. So all the osmium in the world that we can actually mine would fit under, let's say, 5 or 6 of the chairs that you guys are sitting on. That's how rare it is. And it's considered to be 1,500 to 4,000 times rarer than gold. Talking about osmium and when it's being mined and its rarities. So osmium is mined together with platinum. Platinum is one of the other metals in the precious metals group and in the platinum group family. And platinum is being mined, and osmium is a byproduct of platinum mining. You can never mine for osmium just by itself. It's way too rare for that. So you always do it as a byproduct or as a leftover from other minings, mainly platinum, but also, for example, nickel and a couple of other materials. The good thing is, there's no holes being dug for osmium in the earth because it's being dug for platinum anyways and osmium comes out of it. And in addition to that, prior to this crystallization and giving osmium a worth and a market, which the Osmium-Institutes were doing, the osmium was taken out of the platinum as an impurity and just evaporated into the air. It's a toxic substance, so that was very hazardous to the environment. Now the osmium is being caught and is actually being reduced to the crystalline metal form, so that this is not going into the air anymore. So basically, it's even making the process cleaner. But coming back to the rarity, what we're seeing here is platinum mining, and in 10,000 tons of platinum ore, you will find 30 grams of osmium. To give a little bit better picture of that, if you have 250 trucks that are to the brink full with platinum ore, you'll find a sugar cube of osmium in all of them. Obviously, sadly, not as a sugar cube nugget, but like in single atoms. And this is considered a good ratio. This is worthwhile extracting the osmium. So you kind of get a feeling of how rare this element actually is. This is how osmium looks in its raw form. Not very pretty, I'll admit it. It looks a little bit like when you dusted the shelves that desperately needed it. It's grayish, bluish powder, and it is toxic in this form. So when you were to breathe it in, it forms an osmium tetraoxide when it's exposed to air. And osmium tetraoxide is not super dangerous, like you wouldn't die instantly. I, for example, also took a whiff of osmium tetroxide once, and I'm still standing here. So it's not really bad, but over a longer period of time, it would harm your lungs. So you can imagine it's not very pretty, and it is toxic, and there's not a lot of it. So why are we talking about it, and has there been any use to it, or will there be? The first company using osmium was Osram. Most of you will know it as the light bulb company. In the very first light bulbs, they used osmium and wolfram, which is the German word for tungsten, in the filaments of light bulbs. So that was the first usage, but you always have something which is just as good or even better, where you don't need osmium. So I told you it's not pretty, it's toxic, it's rare, we can't use it for industry. Why am I standing here talking about it? Well, there is also this form of osmium, and that's the crystallized shape of osmium. And the crystallization is only possible since 2014, so it's a very young market. It took over 40 years to develop, and this is the developed crystallization form. And in 2017, the German Osmium-Institute was founded. That's the company that I'm working for. And that is the company that is internationally introducing it to the markets and certifying the pieces. So basically, the osmium tangible asset investment market is only a couple of years old, and the jewelry and luxury market is even younger. I'll get to that later. So this is the form of osmium that we'll be talking from now on, looking like this. There we go. It's a little delayed. This is an osmium disc, and my colleagues will also pass one around so that you guys can see it and hold it in your hand and just get an idea of how it looks, how it feels. So this is the crystalline version that is used as a tangible asset, and where sales have skyrocketed in Europe for over 500 times already. And now the question is, okay, why are we talking about crystallized osmium? What is different now? So there's three things that are very important when it comes to crystallization. The first one is it's now very, very pure. We're having a 5 nines purity proven, and even 9 to 11 nines are estimated. Nines meaning 99.99999999 and so on. This is extraordinarily high. That's purer than everything else in the precious metals market. That's the first interesting part, and this is only achieved during crystallization because atom per atom the crystallization process is happening. The second point is the safety. I told you the raw form is toxic and it's hazardous to health, so obviously you can't use it. In the crystallized form, you probably already guessed it, we're wearing it as jewelry, we're passing it around, it's very safe to handle, there's no problems whatsoever with it anymore, and you can handle it and uniformly trade it now. And the third part is the most intriguing one, and that's why I'm going to go a little bit more into detail, because this is crystallized osmium when you let it grow rough in a laboratory. So when you create so-called 3D crystals like this, there's a couple of companies in the world which can do that. And then you have a very beautiful, very heavy, very expensive rock, but it doesn't do anything good. The difference is, and this is only one company in Switzerland, this version of crystalline osmium, which is flat structured and can be used as jewelry, tangible asset, in clocks, in watches, or also just as a substrate to make surfaces more expensive. And this crystalline version in the thin wafer form is very unique in every single piece. This is enlarged the crystal structure of one piece of osmium. And as you can probably tell, you see all the different angles of the crystals working together, forming a very unique surface. So every single piece, even the smallest ones that you can see in the jewelry that my colleagues are wearing, or the ones that I have going down to 3 millimeter, every single piece of crystallized osmium was scanned, identified, entered into a database, and is scanned there together with its height profile, with a 2D scan, with a 3D scan, with measurements. Making, and this is the last point that I was mentioning earlier, osmium the only unforgable material there is, or the only unforgable metal. Gold, for example, you can forge when you use tungsten in the core. It has a very similar density. You just coat it with some gold. If you go over a centimeter thick, then no X-ray will be able to penetrate it. So the X-ray will always say gold, even though it has a core of tungsten. With osmium, you can't do that because it has the highest density of all the elements. But in addition to that, you do have this crystal structure. And every single piece can be identified. And through this, the question arose, is it possible to have every single piece of the standardized form of a metal in circulation worldwide to be scanned, identified, and archived in one centralized database? And the answer is yes. That is the Osmium World Database that has been set up in 2017 by the German Osmium-Institute. Every piece, even these small ones that are used for jewelry production, are entered into the database. We're scanning them with high-resolution microscopes, Keown's microscopes. In the middle, under the microscope, I'm not sure what that's in English, like a gecko, I guess? The gecko is lying, so you can tell it's very, very small, and we can enlarge that to extremely large nano images. And every single piece gets a height profile and is saved with these scans in the database and is issued a code, and so-called OIC, Osmium Identification Code. In this case here, we have a disk, because it starts with a K, and then there is an alphanumeric code following, which is identifying this exact single one piece, making sure that we can link one code and the database entry to exactly one piece. And this has been set up with custom authorities around the world, the Osmium-Institute database. So like I can't click the link now, I think, but I can show it later. The U.S. Custom and Border Protection rulings have been worked with it. We have the custom rulings for Australia, for the Arab Emirates, for the EU, obviously. Now we're currently working with China and South Korea on custom regulations. So internationally, this is the only accepted form or shape of trade for osmium. So just a brief recap, so to let the most important things sink in. We're talking about the densest material, which is the rarest naturally occurring element on Earth. It has several physical superlatives, but because it is so rare, we won't be able to use it in the industry. It is very expensive to extract and refine from platinum ore and needs to be purified to reach the quality that we need. And this happens in the crystallization process, and afterwards it's rendered such that it's pure, safe, and unfalsifiable, and is now newly entering the international markets. So it's basically still a market in its baby shoes. Quick recap of physics and chemics school, if you guys remember. I don't. So we have 8 precious metals. There's gold and silver, which everyone knows. Palladium and platinum, most people will still know. And then there's rhodium, iridium, ruthenium, and osmium, going from right to left. And osmium is the last one now to enter the international markets. If you are familiar with tangible asset investment, you will know that all the precious metals, when they have entered the market, have seen a significant increase in price at some point, showing here, for example, the platinum price or the rhodium price, which all have spiked at some point, and different to osmium, they are not as rare and they are falsifiable. So osmium has definitely the upper hand in that regard, and we still saw these price increases, so hopefully something similar can be expected for osmium. And it already has developed in the right direction, but to the price I'll get in a bit. So from this, the necessity to create a safe, standardized, and internationally recognized form of osmium that would be accepted as a store of value, means of exchange, and can be used in high-end jewelry and luxury products was born. And this is the crystallized version of osmium that we're talking about, that is being sold internationally as a tangible asset and that you were able to hold in your hands, or you will be if you come to our booth. We're directly at the entrance. You can't miss us. We have amazing chocolate. I would recommend stopping by. So coming back to the Osmium World Database, here we have an osmium flat bar. We call it flat bar because it literally is flat. When we just say bar, people expect like gold bar, but osmium is always crystallized very thin. And this flat bar has the osmium identification code, starting with an F in this case, because it is a bar. And it also has an owner change code, an OCC. And that's very interesting for everyone who's working with osmium, because the OCC, the owner change code, allows the transfer of the ownership in the database exactly one time. Then yours is getting invalid. The new owner gets sent a new OCC via email. And through this very safe trading back and forth between private individuals or sales partners, wholesalers, also jewelers, is possible. So you get this OCC when you buy a piece via email, and then you decide, okay, you want to inherit it to someone, you want to sell it, you want to gift it to someone. You use the OCC, type in the new data of the new owner. The new owner gets sent an OCC, yours gets invalid, and the ownership has been successfully transferred. So this can be done even without an Osmium-Institute, but obviously if there's questions, we're always happy to help. So as you probably guessed it, Germany, Austria, and Switzerland have been the first markets to pick up the DACH region and are still the most successful ones, although we're now exporting and growing into 40 countries, in 30 of which we have Osmium institutes that are already founded or under foundation, partner institutes. So it's definitely outgrowing the European Union, which can also be seen now that we're here. And the crystallization happens in Switzerland. In the Osmium Institute Germany, we do the certification and market introduction. And in Austria, there's the Osmium World Council. So those three make up the main countries that have started with osmium. But as I said, we have Osmium Institutes now in France. We have a partner now in Serbia. I will be flying to Brazil in a few days. Then it's going further to the US. We're just founding in South Korea. So it's getting very, very international. Coming to the thing that probably interests most of you the most, the price. So gold in 2017 was at $1,456 US per troy ounce. Osmium, on the other hand, was at $870 US per gram. Careful, gram and troy ounce is a difference 30-fold. So 1 troy ounce is about 31 grams. Which osmium is calculated in gram, which is why I used the gram version here. But to go to troy ounce, if you compare it directly, a troy ounce of osmium in 2017 was at 27,060 US dollars. Seeing 2023, gold has definitely also made a development. We're now at 1,844 US dollars per troy ounce, but osmium is currently at 1,965 US dollars, nearly doubling, or a troy ounce would be at 61,117 US dollars per troy ounce. So we definitely see we more than doubled in that time. The people who went in even earlier than that definitely made a nice win out of it. And we're expecting that the prices will still rise due to reasons that I will say later. But here, first of all, the price graph over the last couple of years. And it can be seen on various German financial websites or also on osmium-price.com, which is the easiest one because you can just adjust which timelines you want to see. I earlier said, or just a few seconds ago, that we are expecting the price to rise. No one obviously can give promises in no business, and especially not in a very young one like this one. But there's two scenarios that will hopefully trigger a significant price increase. They're both very American wording, so I apologize in advance. It's the osmium Big Bang and the osmium thin out. Both are scenarios that might happen in the future, and I'll explain briefly what they mean. So the osmium Big Bang means that there will be less and less osmium available for retail sale, and the osmium is only available through the people who invested in an early stage. Meaning you have the osmium that has been crystallized, and after a while there won't be coming any new raw osmium because it is so rare or because platinum mining is decreasing, so there could be a lot of reasons for that. And then if there's no osmium coming anymore, we actually have a non-existing new source. So the only way to get it is to buy it back from earlier private individuals who invested into it, which could be interesting. And experts expect a strong change in prices there. No one can tell how much. Could be tenfold, could be more, could be less. But it would be the first time that there's an unavailability for an element. The second one is the osmium thin out, because we have now a growing luxury and jewelry market that's working with osmium. So we even have that tiny amount of osmium that's crystallized. And from there, there's a constant drainage to the jewelry and luxury market. So there's less and less osmium available in a tangible asset investment form and for sale to the processing industry. So at some point, there's got to be basically no more osmium. Then there's got to be no more crystallized osmium, and then there's going to be only jewelry at some point in the future. This is the hypothetical scenario of the osmium Big Bang and the osmium thin out. And this also already indicates what we're talking here. We're talking about a long-term tangible asset investment. It's nothing for in and out, getting in one day, getting out the other, because the market is still developing. It made some very interesting price increases over the last couple of years, but the true value is hopefully going to show in a couple of years from now, which is also why the US Americans call it the next generation metal. They're always a little extra with their wordings. So I was talking very big numbers about osmium in terms of millions, billions, trillions, whatever. People always ask, what's the smallest amount I can buy? What's the smallest way in? So what you see here on the left down corner is an osmium 3 millimeter diamond. It has nothing to do with diamond. It's not created from carbon. We just call it like that because it looks like one when you insert it into jewelry. And those start at around 200 euros. So those are the smallest pieces that can be bought in crystallized osmium, and it ranges up to the big discs that I was showing earlier, or that my colleagues were showing around, and even larger. So the largest pieces are like this, and they're 250,000 euros each. And obviously then you can scale that up. You can just, oops, sorry, that's the next slide. You can just take multiple of these. And so we're having everything from the little private investor who says every now and then I have 200 euros that I want to invest and diversify my precious metals portfolio with, up to we have institutional investors, family offices that we're working with, and now we're even talking to the first couple states about osmium states reserves because it can't be forged. It's very interesting, and it has a very high value density. So who knows, probably Serbia one day too. And now I will come to my last part, which is my favorite part. It's osmium jewelry. I myself, I'm the vice director of the Osmium-Institute, have been now for 4 years in that position. And start of 2020, I founded, parallel to my work at the Osmium-Institute, my own company, which is the Oslery GmbH. And it was the first international company to work with osmium jewelry. This is how we started, single luxury products that we crafted. Here's just a few more examples that have been made in the very first period. You can see it's ranging from colliers, over rings, over tie clips. Also, a lot of men actually like it because it's not a gemstone, but a metal, so men still feel manly wearing it. And so it's used by both. We have a lot of wedding rings, engagement rings requests, especially now where the diamond prices are kind of shaky because man-made diamonds are entering the market. Osmium is sort of more and more becoming a substitute for that, and we see that especially in the wedding and engagement rings. But then Oslery turned from, also more and more people entered the market working with osmium jewelry. So Oslery turned from just crafting osmium jewelry pieces to more being sort of the link between the Osmium-Institute and the processing industry, because I can tell you no one in the Osmium industry or institute has the time to stick an hour to a phone talking to designers how to use osmium the best. So there was another company, or like there was a void that needed to be filled, and this is now what Oslery is doing. And I have this little movie that I think you guys back there need to play just to show real quick what we're doing. It's 90 seconds long, so it shouldn't take too long. This was at a jewelry exhibition just a few days ago in Munich. Usually it's smoother than that. So I'm not saying my computer is better, but on my computer it didn't lag. Anyway, so this is just a short example of how osmium jewelry can look like. Yeah, and we already saw it in the video a little bit, but I'm sure there's a few watch fans underneath our viewers today. There's already been a couple of really big brands who work with osmium. First of all, Ulysse Nardin. Everyone who knows watches knows Ulysse Nardin. Chapek, Hublot, now Une. I'm also wearing an Une watch here. So there have been big brands working with it. The Ulysse Nardin on the right side, for example, costs €250,000, so 250,000 euros. So we're talking high price range, especially when we're entering the watch industry. And there is a couple of more watches to come. I'm not allowed to say which ones yet, but it's going to stay definitely interesting in the osmium watch market. Other examples of what Oslery is doing, just real quick, is producing specific inlays. So whenever there's logo cuts desired, you can also see it can be cut very filigree, so everyone who wants to work with osmium jewelry can also use that. The one in the middle was for an Indian customer who wanted an elephant, so there's no limits to what you can do. It also ranges as far as osmium headphones, for example, which are created by a partner in Germany. The over-ears that you're seeing up there, they're about 150,000 euros, and the most expensive headphones there are, and we're talking to a couple of the big DJs already, if they want to wear them on one of their gigs. The smaller ones, the in-ears, you can also see at our booth, by the way, if you want to stop by, they're around 20,000 euros. And another example is the osmium violin, because the osmium violin was just finished a couple of weeks ago, actually, in Austria. And it's the most expensive, most precious violin that has ever been created, featuring over 500 pieces of crystalline osmium and also some other boring gemstones. But mainly it features 500 pieces of crystallized osmium. When I say the most expensive one is Stradivari, is most likely still more expensive. It's the most expensive one that has ever been crafted in terms of materials. And it's going to be auctioned off in a few weeks. The expected price is either a high one-digit million number or a low two-digit million number. So coming to an end here, basically osmium investments range from very small pieces, from people who just say, I want to diversify my precious metals portfolio or my tangible asset portfolio for a couple €100, up to bigger pieces, which then are, for example, this lady here is holding, it's probably around €40,000, and it goes up to €250,000 in one piece. And obviously that can be stacked as many times as need be. So there is no limit, basically, to the upscale. And this is the Osmium-Institute Germany. As you can see, we're a very young, innovative team. And we are 16 people in Germany, now having over 1,000 partners worldwide who we're working with internationally. We're already in 40 countries, and 30 of them with a founded institution, the Osmium-Institute of the local company. Up there is, on the very top left corner, that's Mr. Wolf, who would have held the speech today if he were here, who I was substituting for. And yeah, I think I'll end this presentation by naming our Serbian partner, who's Juba, he's sitting there. He's from Insignitus Gold. He's also, he's our State Institute partner for Osmium in Serbia. And he's standing downstairs with my colleagues at the booth. So if you have questions and feel more comfortable talking Serbian, which I can't, you're very welcome to ask them some questions. But if there are questions in English, then I'm also very happy to answer them. Thank you so much for your attention. For the investment background, sure. So the question was how the osmium price is performing and how it performed over the last couple of years. And, ooh, Jesus. Okay, how it's expected to continue. So obviously no promises can be made in any sort of way, but the osmium price has made 15 to 20% in the last 2 years. And we actually saw a peak also during the COVID-19 pandemic, because more and more people were retreating towards tangible asset investments, stuff that they can hold in their hand, just take in their hand and leave if they want to. And this is also, we have seen a peak in tangible asset precious metals, but also in osmium. And this trend most likely will continue. And most likely, if these scenarios that I was talking about, the osmium Big Bang and the osmium thin out, will happen, then this could lead to even more price increase. Right now, it's about 15 to 20% a year. Welcome. Any other questions? We have a microphone here.
Wir haben nicht keine Zeit mehr. Vielen Dank für deine wunderschöne Präsentation. Ja samo želim da vas pozdravim. Žao mi je što nisu mnogi došli da čuju najbolju priču sa ovog Business foruma. Mi smo u Beogradu, Knez Mihajlo, i posetite nas. Prihvatili smo izazov da radimo sa ovako sjajnim ljudima. Iz Nemačke Scarlett ima samo 27 godina, već 7 godina uspešno razvio ovaj potpuno novi proizvod. I da vam kažem, za ovih 5-6 godina stopa rasta osmijuma kao investicije 3 puta veća od stope rasta investicionog zlata. Javite nam se, dođite, čekamo vas. Hvala puno, vielen Dank nochmal.